Mexico has been plunged into chaos following the death of top drug lord El Mencho. He was killed during a military operation supported by US intelligence in the western state of Jalisco. He led the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, a criminal organization so ruthless that President Donald Trump classified it as a terrorist organization. Within hours of his death, cartel gunmen blocked highways, torched vehicles, and took over the streets, plunging Mexico into all-out war. Smoke rose over cities including Guadalajara, a host city for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. Officials reported around 250 roadblocks, bank branches being set on fire, and mass looting. The US State Department has since issued travel warnings and a shelter-in-place warning for the US citizens in affected areas described by tourists as war zones. El Mencho wasn't just another cartel boss. He controlled major fentanyl, meth, and cocaine routes into the US and had a $15 million bounty on his head. He was linked to beheadings, mass killings, and even an extermination ranch discovered last year containing underground crematorium ovens and hundreds of shoes. Once a former police officer, he built a private army equipped with grenade launchers, drones, and even helicopters, openly challenging the Mexican state. Now, with his removal, authorities fear violent retaliation as groups fight to fill the vacuum. But for now, they're dealing with the immediate consequence of removing one of the most powerful and violent figures in the country's modern history.
Let's really talk about what's going on in Mexico right now, because it's escalating and it's serious. So the New Generation Cartel, yes, the same one that's been making headlines for years, has basically unleashed chaos after their leader was killed during a military operation to capture him. And ever since that happened, things have been spiraling. We're talking about cartel members pulling people out of their cars just to torch the vehicles in the middle of the street. They've reportedly set planes on fire. They're targeting gas stations, trying to ignite them. And on top of that, they've been launching coordinated attacks on police officers and even border agents. This isn't random violence. This is organized retaliation. From what's being reported, they're saying they won't back down until they get their leader's body returned. And honestly, it's shocking to see how bold they're moving. It almost feels like they're hunting law enforcement instead of the other way around. What really breaks my heart is the civilians caught in the middle. Word is they've been warning regular people to stay out of the way, because if you get caught outside while they're handling business, you're on your own. And that's terrifying. I'm praying for the families and communities dealing with this right now.
Rubbish on the streets, bikes to get around, power only by torchlight. This, the state of Cuba, desperately running out of oil supplies, because it's reliant on Venezuela for fuel, and the US blocking imports of oil from there threatens to grind this island to a halt. The problem is everywhere to be seen in Havana, and this, now a threat to public health. No fuel to power the rubbish trucks.
Now it's serious, critical, very critical. It's prone to causing diseases which are caused by garbage. Please do something about this.
And no fuel for homes, schools, hospitals, causing blackouts for much of the day. Cuba's iconic 1950s cars replaced by these electric bikes, the only way to get around in a country being choked off from its supplies. Life in Cuba has become almost unrecognisable for the Caribbean island, which usually attracts millions of tourists a year.
I used to be a driver. I used to drive in El Medron, and I worked every day, but because of the gasoline and oil situation, we've had to take this alternative, find a tricycle to keep moving the population. There's no other way.
The facts about Cuba in under 60 seconds. There are shortages of food, medicine, and fuel. Cuba relies on imports for about 60% of its energy, mainly from Venezuela and Mexico. Shipments from Venezuela stopped in January after the US attacked and captured their president Nicolas Maduro. Shipments from Mexico stopped in February after Trump signed an executive order threatening sanctions on any country selling oil to Cuba. This cuts off fuel supply for Cuba's electrical grid, which was already in poor shape. Blackouts have been standard for many Cubans even before the oil blockade. Gasoline is being rationed, and Cubans could be waiting months for one tank of gas. Cuba's main airport in Havana warned that it will run out of jet fuel, along with other airports in the country. Canada's major airlines have suspended flights to Cuba, and the government is advising against non-essential travel to the country. Canada is Cuba's largest source of tourists, according to the federal government. And tourism is in trouble. In 2024, Cuba had 2.2 million visitors. That's down more than 50% from 2018. And that's
It has been 2 weeks since a certain country initiated a total oil blockade to Cuba. 2 weeks. And they have had no oil that has been brought in. And now they are out. They rationed, they shared, they cut out non-essentials. But it's gone now. And 11 million people are without power, and there is no end in sight. Think about what that means. 11 million people in the dark. 11 million people who have no ability to preserve their food. What does that mean for food insecurities, for spread of disease, for people who need medical care? I saw a video of a doctor from Cuba this morning that treats pediatric cancer patients, and he said absolutely. He has patients that are exiting this world sooner than they would have to because they are no longer able to give them the treatment that they need. This has been a goal of that country that initiated the blockade for a long time. They've been trying to undermine Cuba for a long time so that Cuba would fall and that country could swoop in and take over the pieces. And that's what's happening. And 11 million people are paying the price. Go love your neighbor.
Shalom. Welcome to another video. And as always, before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakhwadash. And next, double honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of the great millstone who teach and who rule well. Peace, blessings, and safety to all you sincere Akim. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith, regardless of whether people hear or whether they forbear. All right, so this is going to be a news and prophecy update. All right, chaos breaking loose in Mexico and Cuba. All right, you saw the clips. Okay, you had a leader of one of the cartels in Mexico. All right, he got deleted by the Mexican military, and they're saying that the United States has something to do with it. All right, so they're pretty much wreaking havoc all over all the different parts of Mexico. All right, and then in Cuba, you're having a blackout. Okay, you're having to where they're not able to get oil. Okay, and that is pretty much frozen that society. All right, now the reason why we report on these things, okay, is because we look at everything from a prophetic lens. All right, we know that eventually the time is going to come. Okay, where the Heavenly Father is going to shut down the United States in the exact same way. All right, there's going to be chaos, anarchy on the streets. All right, and possible blackouts, as we always speak on. Okay, just different things, different calamities are going to come because Esau has to be able to justify his NWO, his New World Order. All right, so this is a foreshadowing, okay, of what is to come here in America, Babylon the Great. All right, so with that being said, that's the topic we're going to dive into, and Yahweh righteous, I mean, the Heavenly Father's will is edifying to the elect. All right, so I'm going to start off here in 2 Esdras 15. This is not going to be a long video. I'm literally just going to bring out a few precepts, okay, going into those kind of conditions. The scriptures talk about, anarchy and apocalyptic conditions during the time of the end, known of in the scriptures as Jacob's trouble or the Great Tribulation. All right, so this is 2 Esdras 15. I'm going to start from the top of verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people, the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh, and cause it to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. For behold, saith Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Okay, so all right, he said he's going to bring these plagues upon the earth. All right, like I said, this is a foreshadowing of what we're going to see happen when the Babylon the Great, the United States of America, collapses. All right, I'm going to skip down to verse 14. All right, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay, swords representing any kind of killing instrument. Okay, so the modern day gun, that's a form of a sword. Okay, and it could be a literal sword, any kind of weapon that people use to attack one another. All right, it says, for there shall be sedition among men. All right, that's what we're seeing going on over in Mexico. Okay, you go into that word for sedition. All right, the word sedition, it tells you it's an Oxford American Writer's Thesaurus, meaning incitement to riot or rebellion. Okay, from the New Oxford American Dictionary, conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. All right, so sedition among men. All right, okay, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So different people, different militias fighting for the power seat, control of the country. Now you're going to see these things. That's what's happening over in Mexico right now. Okay, the Mexican military is going head up with the cartel. Okay, so this is all in the prophecies. All right, if this would happen, and the main place of that judgment once again will be America, Babylon the Great. All right, verse 17. For a man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So for a period of time, you know, people, when something like that happens, like a shutdown, maybe the first week or two, people are still kind of acting normal. But over time, when supplies are short, you know, food starts getting low, you're going to see people, you know, act out. They're going to fight against one another, raid each other's homes, looking for supplies. Okay. Like you see in the videos in Cuba. Okay. You know, people, they don't have access to medicine. Okay. Medical care. All right. So when a shutdown happens, okay, it's catastrophic. And imagine that happening all across the United States. All right. So this is the times that we're coming into. Okay. It's going to get to that point. But it has to happen, because this is the end of this society and the beginning of the world to come. All right, Yahushua, okay, when he was with his disciples, they asked him about these things, and he told us what to look for, okay, and the things that we're seeing happening around the earth, okay, let us know that we're getting closer and closer, all right, to the end of this world and the beginning of the new world to come. So this is Matthew 24, and I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. All right, so that's one thing we're seeing. A lot of false messiahs. Some people are literally saying that they're the Messiah. All right, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay, so that's what we're coming into. We're coming into the beginning of sorrows. All right, or really, you know, the elders say that we're already in Jacob's trouble, just has not taken full effect yet. Okay, but we're looking forward to this, because as we're reading, all right, this is the signs he gave us, okay, for the end of to show the end of this society. All right, and this is also, okay, once again, the deliverance of the elect, the remnant of Jacob. All right, so this is Jeremiah 30. Okay, you see it's entitled Deliverance from Captivity Promised, starting at verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Thus speaketh Yahweh, power of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Yahweh, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore, meaning for what reason do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness? Okay, so everything we just read from verses 1 through 6, this is all a part of the deliverance. Okay, we have to go through the time of fear, of trembling, and not of peace, okay, to eventually receive of that salvation, as it's going to say in the next verse, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. That's exactly what Yahushua said. Okay, he said the same thing in Matthew 24, that it would be a time of trouble such as never before seen on the face of the earth. Okay, verse 8, for it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, power of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. For they shall serve Yahweh their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahweh, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of thy captivity. So this is our deliverance here. All right, it says, and Jacob shall return and shall be at rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Yahweh, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations where I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. All right, so this is our deliverance right here. Okay, and it's got to come. Our deliverance is synonymous and simultaneous with the destruction of the nations. Okay, you cannot have the deliverance of the children of Israel without the destruction of the nations. All right, so we're looking forward to this. We're seeing all these different things pop up on the earth. Okay, you got the war over there with Israel and Iran. Okay, and the different so-called Middle Eastern countries. All right, with the Israelis. So these are all things that are bubbling up. You got Russia and Ukraine. Okay, United States and Iran, United States and Russia. Okay, this is all a part of the final world war, which is the grand finale of Jacob's trouble, the War of Armageddon, also known as World War III. And this will ultimately lead to the destruction of the nations, but the deliverance and salvation of the Israelites, starting off with the elect. Okay, so once again, we're looking forward to these things. A quick news and prophecy update. This is what's happening if you're not aware. Once again, Mexico has been plunged into chaos. Not all of it, but certain places, because of what happened with the cartel leader getting deleted, all right, by the Mexican military. And now you have Cuba. Okay, they're in turmoil as well. So, these are the tribes right here. And Heavenly Father is bringing that pain, all right, bringing those judgments. Okay, so with that being said, stay vigilant, stay diligent, all right, that you can be found of him in peace. Okay, because we're almost up out of here. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end it off there. All right, Yahweh Rutches, I mean, the Heavenly Father's will was edifying. As always, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachwadash. And until next time, Shalom, Wa Abad Babal.